When I was 12, my parents sent me to a boarding school. It was an old building on the edge of the city, standing right beside the forest. When the wind blew from that direction, the smell of damp earth, rot, and old wood drifted through the windows. The walls were peeling, and the floors creaked with every step, as if complaining about my presence. Sometimes it felt like the hallways whispered, especially at night, when the sounds echoed off the high ceilings. My room was at the end of a long hallway where the lamps barely worked and the shadows under the ceiling seemed to move. On the first day, I noticed that almost no sunlight reached this part of the building. Even during the day, the room stayed half dark, and I constantly felt like someone was watching my every move. My roommate was Elliot. He was pale, with dark circles under his eyes. He hardly spoke, and when he did, his voice was so quiet, it seemed like he was afraid someone might hear him. He often sat motionless on his bed, staring at a single point, as if seeing something invisible to everyone else. Sometimes it looked like the shadow behind him moved slightly, but he never did. On the first night, he came to me and placed a folded piece of paper on my pillow. I unfolded it and saw a list. First, don't bring salt. Second, don't place a mirror. Third, don't touch the flowers. I laughed, thinking it was a joke, but he looked at me with eyes full of strange determination and whispered that some things should never be kept nearby if you want to sleep peacefully. I didn't understand what he meant, but I didn't argue. That night, I couldn't fall asleep for a long time. The wind knocked on the window, and somewhere in the hallway, it sounded like slow footsteps circling the building. Sometimes I heard fingernails scraping against the wall, the faint creak of doors, and dull thuds, as if someone was knocking right above my bed. Every sound made me tense. I was afraid to open my eyes and see something that shouldn't be there. Days passed, and Elliot began acting stranger. He woke up before dawn and went out into the courtyard, where old stone statues covered in moss stood. He touched them with his hands, whispering something under his breath. Sometimes I saw dirt and small cuts on his fingers, as if he had been digging or doing something I couldn't understand. He never said what he was doing, but after his nightly walks, I noticed tiny scratches on the floor, as if something invisible had slid along the walls. At night, I woke up to his whispering. He sat on the bed, repeating the same word over and over, a word I couldn't make out. Sometimes I thought I saw a dark shadow crawling along the walls. My heart pounded so hard, it felt like it wanted to escape my chest. I often remembered my mother saying that old houses have souls. But here, I felt it was something else, something far beyond age or history. One day, when Elliot was gone, I dared to look under his bed. There, I found a notebook wrapped in cloth. The pages were filled with the names of our classmates and strange symbols, crosses, circles, and numbers. On one page, I saw my name next to the date of the following day. I dropped the notebook and backed away toward the door, too afraid to look again. That evening, he returned as if nothing had happened. He looked at me and quietly asked if I had touched his things. I lied and said no. That night, I woke up to a thick cold filling the room. The air felt heavy, and viscous, as if something unseen was slowly moving around me. I opened my eyes and saw Elliot standing beside my bed. His lips moved silently, as if speaking to an invisible presence. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. The air itself felt like it was holding me in place. His eyes gleamed in the dark, reflecting the faint light from the window. I smelled damp earth, as if something was moving beneath the bed. He leaned closer, and I froze, unable to move. Then he vanished as suddenly as he had appeared. The next morning, Elliot was gone. His bed was neatly made, his suitcase missing. In the nightstand drawer lay only a single piece of paper, written in shaky handwriting. "Don't look at what moves without making a sound." Since that night, I haven't been able to sleep in complete silence. Even the faintest sound makes me tense. When it becomes too quiet, I feel like someone is standing right behind me, breathing slowly against my neck. I can feel his gaze, hear a whisper, and sense the cold, as if he's still somewhere nearby. That fear never left me. Sometimes it returns so suddenly that I feel like a 12-year-old boy again, alone in a dark boarding school room.